Body, up to the time.
Mama Africa, me love you. Yeah. Ghana, we need. Yeah. Well, I'm here, Safari, the cryptic warrior, live from Jamaica, representing for radio culture, GH Reggae Dancehall, the very best of the best, Nuggaitis.
Dog Pound is back with all. One, two, radio culture on a sabbatical morning. Yes, indeed, we are here once again. We give thanks and praises for life. We give thanks and praises for everything. And yes, indeed, we give thanks and praises for the new development that the Parliament of Ghana has finally removed the restriction so that hemp cannabis is now legal for industrial and medicinal purposes. But that is the topic for discussion today on Radio Culture Groundation. There's a lot of misconception about this new NACOC law, or the NACOC Bill, which is about to be assented by the President to be made law. There's a lot of pedestrian commentary on the topic, leading to a misunderstanding of what this bill really is. And that is why we're here this morning on Groundation, to iron out some of these misconceptions and hopefully to bring some more insight into what the law or the bill really is. We had sought to speak with the man Ras Mubarak this morning. Unfortunately, he is on a family assignment and cannot make it. So what we're going to do is at some point in the show, we are going to reproduce an interview that he did with the BBC, which explains a lot of what this NACOC bill really is. And in between that, we will try and fill in the spaces with what I and I understand as what is entailed in that bill, the NACOC, the NACOC bill. One thing is clear though, ganja, the Rastaman's sacrament, is not legalized. Let's get that clear. So for all of us who are waving the flags and going up and down and saying, hey, weed is legal, be careful because you still can get in trouble. Cannabis, marijuana, is not legalized in Ghana. What is entailed in the bill is hemp fiber cannabis for industrial and medicinal purposes, not for sacramental or for recreational use. Let's get that clear. It is a very nuanced subject, and I find that a lot of our people, even the best of us, are getting it wrong, including some racists who are on media because they are saying that ganja has prevailed. Ganja has not prevailed. We still have a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of work to do in bringing, ganja itself as a human right, as a religious right. We still have work to do in that area to get the parliament to see to that as well. For now, what is on the table is hemp fiber cannabis, which is supposed to be grown for fiber and has a 0.3 gram maximum limit. You can hardly smoke that. I would not smoke that. It's like smoking a champon. you know a champon, that weed where, yeah, if you're from Ghana, you know a champon. If you're not from Ghana, let me just say, just like smoking grass. But that's what it is. Ganja is not legal in Ghana. Let's get that clear. Let's not miseducate the masses, all right? And also the media. A lot is on you. The media is at the helm of the misunderstanding and the misreporting. That should be checked. Okie dokie, let's get into it. Like I said, the media is not reporting properly on this subject, right? And that is leading to a whole heap of confusion on the subject. This morning, I had to do an interview on Akuma FM with yours truly, Obibini, Ohine Obibini, where I was asked about what really is in the bill. I'm not an expert. I only happen to know a little about what is in there. Also because I've conducted a few interviews on the subject with people who matter. I have an interview which is running on iCulture TV right now as I speak with the Eastern Regional Minister and Ghana's United Nations expert on cannabis, Seth Champon. And from that interview, I got to learn a lot. I've also had discussions, with Ras Mubarak, who was supposed to be on the show today, but cannot be, as I've explained already, and who is one of the original framers of the bill. So, in light of that, I can say that I have a better understanding of the subject than most people. So I'll try to chime in the absence of the expert. But let's get it clear. Cannabis for smoking is not legal. It is still what it is. With a little bit of tweak and nuance, we'll get to that when we get there. But let's focus on the media right now. The media is not doing a great job on reporting on this particular subject, and the media in general, because most of the reporting that I see on the subject refers to weed, right? Maybe it's for the headlines because we realize that whenever we or something is mentioned, it gets people's attention. So maybe that's what these media houses are doing to get the hits and the likes and whatnot. But it's imperative to put the facts first and to endeavor to make sure that the facts prevail above everything else. I'm going to go on pulse.com.gh to read what their reporting is on this, and then we can all decipher what I mean by that. Here is Pulse. The title of their report is Parliament Passes NACOC Bill Granting Licenses for Weed Cultivation in Ghana. Manka, weed cultivation. When we say we in Ghana, what everybody understands weed to be is weed, cannabis for smoking. However, Pulse Ghana says Parliament passes NACOC Bill for granting licenses. Parliament passes NACOC Bill granting licenses for weed cultivation in Ghana. So this is very misleading because Parliament is not granting licenses for anybody to grow weed in Ghana. That's false. So right from the headline, you see that we're already bumping into problems because for people who don't even go ahead to read the actual story but make their deductions from the headline, they're already misled because they think that weed or marijuana or ganja is now legal in Ghana. That is not the case, people. By the way, the report is by one man called Emmanuel Tony. Emmanuel, please, next time, do your homework. And to make it worse, right under the under the headline is a photograph of somebody rolling a spliff. So you see what I'm talking about? Completely wrong reporting. Because you cannot roll hemp fiber cannabis. You cannot roll that what's being legalized in Ghana cannot be rolled in a sheet of paper as is shown in the picture right beneath a headline that says Parliament legalizes whatever we. Nah, that's wrong. The journalism that we're Ghana need the akaka crowd. We should be very, 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 very serious about that. Our reporting on most topics, I won't even go into that. But when it comes to cannabis issues, I haven't seen one good report on this subject, I have to tell you the truth. I have not seen one decent reportage on this subject on any Ghanaian media platform. If there's one, I haven't seen it. But what I've seen is what I'm sharing with you right now, and it's wrong. And I'm using the Pulse report as an example. Let's go on into the actual meat of the story. By the way, the picture that I was talking about is captioned "We." The caption simply says "We." Hey, Nana, Asemo. Anyway, let's go into the report. It says, this means the Ministry of Interior is mandated to issue licenses for the cultivation of cannabis, thereby enabling the utilization of this plant for various beneficial applications. It goes on to say, the development comes after the Supreme Court impeded the passage of the law by striking out Section 43 of the law as unconstitutional. Section 43 of the Act Section 43 of Act 1019 stipulates that the minister, on the recommendation of the commission, may grant a license for the cultivation of cannabis, popularly referred to as we in Ghana, which is not more than 0.3%. Which is not more than 0.3% THC content on a dry weight basis for industrial purposes for obtaining fiber or seed for medicinal purposes. Now, you see, that paragraph also contains an untruth and, a plain untruth, an inaccuracy. And let me point it out. Here it is. It says, the minister, on the recommendation of the commission, may grant a license for the cultivation of cannabis, popularly referred to as we in Ghana. No, like I stated earlier, the commission, the minister or the bill is not granting the minister the right or the permission or whatever to grant licenses for the cultivation of we. What is in contention here, or what is on the table here, is not we, right? So as a media house, if you say to people that the minister is now being given the free way to give licenses for people to grow we, you are misleading people. It's inaccurate. It's a myth. But let's go on in the report. It says, on Wednesday, July 12, 2023, Parliament has taken the Narcotics Control Commission Amendment Bill 2023 and the bill is composed of a single clause, when passed, will empower the minister to grant a license for the cultivation of cannabis in the country. Can't fault this because you know what? They didn't say we, so I'm good with that. A report from the Committee on Defense and Interior said the object of the bill is to amend the Narcotics Control Commission Act 2020, Act 1019, to empower the minister to grant a license for the cultivation of cannabis which has not more than 0.3% THC content on a dry weight basis for industrial purposes, for obtaining fiber or seed or medicinal purposes. I don't even understand this sentence too much, but you know what? I don't see any inaccuracy over there. Now let's look at the report from Ghana Web. Ghana Web. The headline on Ghana Web is this: Parliament passes Narcotics Control Commission Bill to allow cannabis cultivation for industrial purposes. Perfect. There's nothing wrong with that headline. Now let's go into the meat of the story. Ghana's parliament has successfully amended the Narcotics Control Commission Bill 2023, granting permission for the cultivation of cannabis for industrial purposes. This amendment follows a ruling by the Supreme Court in July 2022, which invalidated Section 43 of the bill due to the lack of parliamentary debate prior to its passage into law. Now, I was looking for a byline so I could also credit the story to somebody, but I don't find one right now. It just says source, Ghana Web. But anyways, let's go on. And so far, so good. So far, I'm really impressed with how this one is starting. Hopefully, we don't run into any cringy moments in the story. Let's go on. The amendment follows a Supreme Court ruling I've read that already. Let's go on. In a 4-3 majority decision, the court deemed the provision a violation of Article 106, Clause 5 and 6 of the 1992 Constitution. The annulled provision originally allowed the minister, based on the Commission's recommendation, to grant licenses for the cultivation of cannabis, referred to as, oh my God, just when I had started praising Ghana Web, here they come with it. This is why I keep saying I haven't found one decent report on this. But yeah, this is what Ghana Web says in that section of the story. It says the annulled provision originally allowed the minister, based on the Commission's recommendation, to grant licenses for the cultivation of cannabis, referred to as we in Ghana. Same thing. Same mistake that Paul's Ghana did. The subject here is not about Tom. It's about hemp fiber cannabis. But it says referred to as we in Ghana, with a THC content not exceeding 0.3% on a dry weight basis. This was intended for industrial purposes to obtain fiber or seed for medicinal use. So you know this. So then why are you saying we? You write such a beautiful report and then you mess it up with just one small, phrase in parentheses. This is not good enough. Let's go on. Despite the dismissal of a review application by the Office of the Attorney General in a 5-4 decision, Parliament proceeded with a proposed amendment of the Narcotic Control Commission Act. Minister of Interior Ambrose Derry clarified that the amendment bill does not aim to legalize the recreational use of cannabis, but rather provide a framework for the issuance of special licenses for cannabis production. So you see, you actually explain it right there. Why then do you say popularly referred to as we over there? Because that is not factual, that is not accurate. On July 12, 2023, the bill, consisting of a single clause, received its third reading, indicating its passage into law. The amended bill also explicitly prohibits license holders from cultivating cannabis for recreational purposes. You see the dichotomy there. You already have said we, and we, as we know, is what is used for recreational purposes. And then you go on to explain that the licenses are not to be used for growing recreational marijuana. So why did you even have to throw in that word we? That's what I'm saying. It's just sensationalizing. It's just drawing undue attention to the subject. At this point, let me take a minute to give salute to the members of the Rastafari Advocacy Committee. President Kex Daddy Bosco, Togbi Deka, Ras, what's the king's name? The secretary, Kluger. Respect all the man them. And the empresses too. Respect. But yes, let's go on. It says, hemp classified as industrial hemp refers to a specific variety of cannabis plants cultivated for various industrial applications. Unlike other forms of cannabis, hemp and its derived products are not subject to international drug controls outlined in the United Nations Drug Treaties and supplementary protocols. The exemption from international control primarily applies to hemp fiber and seed. This is all factual. So why did you have to throw in that aspect about we? Under the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, the cultivation of cannabis for industrial purposes is limited to fiber and seed. Cannabis indica, another variety of the cannabis plant, has distinct chemical compositions and uses. Hemp finds application in the production of a wide range of commercial and industrial goods such as food, ropes, fabrics, paper, plastics. Plastics? I don't know everything, so I won't say anything, but I don't know about plastics. Composite materials, building materials, jewelry, cosmetics, and biofuels. So like I said, beautifully written piece, except for that small part where it says referred to or popularly known in Ghana as we or something like that. That is not factual, please. We has not been legalized. Now, before we proceed any further, let's go and listen to the audio piece from Parliament when it was being read and when the law was being passed. Take a listen.
Motion that the Narcotics Control Commission Amendment Bill 2023 be now read the third time. Motion that the Narcotics Control Commission Amendment Bill 2023 be now read the third time. Minister for Interior.
Right Honorable Speaker, I move that the Narcotics Control Commission Amendment Bill 2023 be now read the third time.
The question is that those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried.
An act to amend the Narcotics Control Commission Act 2022 Act 1019 to insert Section 43 to empower the minister to grant a license for the cultivation of cannabis, which has not more than 0.3% THC content on dry weight basis for industrial purposes, for obtaining fiber or seed, or for medicinal purposes.
Honorable members, the Narcotics Control Commission Amendment Bill 2023 is deemed read the third time and passed. We now have.
I just wanted to say thank you, Mrs. Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much, and thank honorable colleagues for their support. Thank you.
Yes, honorable members, we now take the last item, which is
All right, so like there you have it, Parliament passing the bill. Did you notice something though? When the speaker said, those in favor say aye, we heard a chorus of ayes. When he said, those against it say no, I did not hear a single no. So it seems as if Parliament was quite unanimous in its decision to pass this bill. And we give thanks for that. We just hope that they go further than looking at just industrial hemp fiber, because ganja also has its own benefits that we have to explore. But right now, the focus is on hemp fiber, not weed. Like I told you earlier, we were supposed to have Ras Mubarak to do better justice to the subject for us, but he is attending to some important family business, so he cannot be here. However, we have an interview that he conducted with the BBC, which to me is perhaps the most authoritative explanation I've heard on the subject. So let's go ahead right now and listen to that piece. We'll be right back to say more after this one. Here goes.
Each and other African country is on the verge of legalizing cannabis farming. That country is Ghana. And the cannabis being talked about here is strictly for industrial and medicinal use. This week, Ghana's parliament passed a bill, controversial for some and important for others. If signed by President Nana Akufo-Addo, it will become legal to grow specific types of cannabis. I asked Ras Mubarak, a former member of parliament in Ghana, to explain to me what the proposed law actually stipulates.
So the Narcotics Control Commission bill itself, it's a document that regulates the activities of the Narcotics Control Commission of Ghana. But there's only a tiny section in the bill, which is section 43, that talks about the decriminalization of cannabis for industrial and medicinal purposes. The bill was first passed into an act in the year 2020 in the 7th Parliament to give people licenses or to give an opportunity for persons interested in cultivating cannabis for industrial and medicinal purpose to go for licenses to be able to do that. There's however a catch here, because what we have approved is specifically for medicinal and industrial purpose.
So
it's not for recreation, so you can't smoke it, because we approved for Parliament to pass 0.3% THC of cannabis. And so for those who are
what does that mean, really?
Okay, so you've got industrial cannabis, which is synthetic. You can't smoke industrial cannabis because the percentage of the content of what would make you high, the THC component in it is very minute. It's not like recreational cannabis, which has higher percentage of THC.
This isn't the first time Ghana has attempted to legalize cannabis. In 2020, the parliament there decriminalized growing of the plant, but the Supreme Court later ditched the law. And in the streets of the capital, Accra, people are optimistic but cautious about the prospects of cannabis being legal.
Very importantly, we need to control the usage, how it's being used, especially with these industries. We should have a system of policing it, the quantities which should be used. There should be a system to actually manage how it's being distributed across the industries for usage. If there can be a monitoring department and the Food and Drugs Authority to actually police this very well.
Whether they use it for medicine or not, the youth are still smoking it. So if you use it for medicine, it will be good for us because it's good for the body.
If it is going to save somebody's life, it is good. And I also don't think that the law has been made in such a way that it opens the floodgates for anybody to just say, because it has been legalized, then I can use it for any purpose. If it is for medicinal purpose, then the regulators of the law should make sure that whatever purpose for which reason they have passed the law is made effective.
So, Ghanaians, at least in Accra, are seeing how this might benefit the country. So I went back to Ras Mubarak, this time to know why the government of Ghana has been so keen to legalize cannabis.
The timing is significant. Now, you would know that Ghana's economy has gone bust. There are serious challenges. We've gone to the IMF for a bailout. At a time when we need more schools, more roads, more hospitals, more social services, the country would have to get money from somewhere.
So, Ras, if I may ask, what you're saying is that this proposal, if approved by the president, Ghana stands to gain significantly, economically, and in many other aspects.
So the president more than likely would assent to it, and once the president assents to it, it becomes law. What would remain is for the Ministry of Interior to come back with a legislative instrument that would say that if Richard wants license in Ghana to cultivate cannabis, he pays X amount of shillings or Y amount of cedis to get that license. The economic benefits are enormous. You know, we have seen countries such as Canada and the Netherlands rake in billions of dollars from cannabis legalization, even though in these countries they have included recreational cannabis.
And so will this cultivation be controlled?
Certain licenses will be issued for persons who want to cultivate. They would have to go for licenses. They would have to renew their licenses, and then the Narcotics Control Commission would, from time to time, go around and check to see if people are doing the right thing. It's just like issuing driver's licenses. From time to time, the police would mount roadblocks and do checks.
And would you say then that the general attitude among Ghanaians has changed towards cannabis, and especially now this conversation being mainstreamed in spaces like Parliament?
Well, the religious bodies have been up in arms, raising concerns that it's going to turn our kids into abusers of substances such as cannabis. I am very hopeful that they will take their time to read what the law is. I'm very hopeful that they'll take consolation in the fact that there are safeguards in the law, and what the Narcotics Control Commission ought to do once the president assents to it. I think the public education should even start now, is to organize programs, seminars, workshops, drama, plays, and educate the public.
So there you have it from Ras Mubarak. Hopefully we will still get him to throw more light on it some other time, maybe next week if he's available. But you get what the situation is right there. Ganja is not legalized. Weed is not legalized. What has been legalized is hemp fiber cannabis, which is supposed to be grown for industrial and medicinal purposes only. Now, in some Western countries, there is smokable marijuana or smokable cannabis, which is smoked for medicinal purposes. In our case, I don't think that is what's going on. What the medicinal aspect of it is that it can be grown for things like oils, tinctures, and stuff like that, but mainly for the fiber for industrial purposes. So please, people, don't go carrying rolls of cannabis in your pocket or rolls of ganja in your pocket and thinking that it's been legalized, so whatnot and whatnot. No, that's not the case. Okay, now that we have cleared that barrier, let me go on to another angle of this thing. Let us look critically at how or what this means for us as a people, all right? The main thing that you hear everybody saying is that, oh, it's a revenue maker, it's going to bring employment and jobs and whatnot. But let's be very careful about that. This is what I mean. If the minister is going to grant licenses to people to grow marijuana or to grow cannabis, who qualifies for these licenses? That is a major issue that we all have to be, focused on, rather than be waving flags and saying, hey, weed has been legalized, because it has not. Now, we have a lot of farmers who have been growing, obviously, ganja, because if you look at the amount of ganja that's in the country, it doesn't come from outside. It's grown from within the country. This tells me that our farmers have a good knowledge of how to grow cannabis in whatever form, whether for fiber or whether for recreational use. So, can we have the licenses going to Ghanaians rather than to people who may come in with, money and buy these licenses and create what my good brethren Kexpongo referred to as industrial capture or corporate capture. If you're not careful, what's going to happen is that people with lots of money will come in and get these licenses, maybe even from outside of Ghana, right? Buy big tracts of land, hire people, they grow the fiber, they pay them stipends or they pay them, minimum wages, whatnot, pay them little money, and then carry the profits outside of the country. We want to avoid that. So my understanding is that at this stage, the minister, that's the Minister of Interior, has to go through the nuances of determining all these bits and pieces. Now, Mr. Minister, I am humbly appealing to you to take a close look at this, because if we're not careful, we will only catch the tail end of this thing. We will not benefit from it as a country. So here's my proposal. I propose that the licenses be not made available to anybody who's not Ghanaian. I mean it. I think that to qualify for the license, one has to be Ghanaian. But then that raises the issue of, can we afford these licenses? I was told by Nana Jimai some time ago that these licenses will not be too expensive. I do not believe that. You know why? Because these licenses are not cheap anywhere in the world that I know. So then that raises the question of, can we Ghanaians, how many Ghanaians can afford the licenses, right? I think that consideration should be made for people who have the capacity to grow these things to benefit from a certain waiver of, the cost of the license, so that people, farmers, can afford these licenses and go ahead and produce the fiber for the proper revenue to stay in the country, rather than have big companies, multinationals, etc., coming into the country, establishing big plantations and cutting the profits out of Ghana. We don't want that. Also, if somebody comes from outside of Ghana and wants to invest, the door should not be completely closed. However, I propose that these people or these entities should partner with Ghanaians in order to get these licenses. There's already a provision where when somebody wants to get, say, Ghanaian citizenship or whatever, they have to be married to a Ghanaian and all these other things. We can apply that here. I think that to benefit from getting a license to grow hemp fiber in Ghana, you have to partner with a Ghanaian so that the license can be given to you. And that way we know that part of the benefits of that enterprise will stay in the country. Now, this is the other aspect of it. It should be at least 51.49% in favor of the Ghanaian member of that collaboration. This is what I mean. If an investor comes into the country and partners with a Ghanaian to get a license, the benefits or the profits of that enterprise should be on a 51.49 basis in favor of the Ghanaian partner, so that whatever profit comes out of it, 51% stays in the country at least. We could even bump it up a lot more, but being as people are investing their money and they also want their profit, they are entitled to their 49%, but at least 51% of the profit should stay with the Ghanaian investor. I'm proposing this to you, Mr. Minister. This is a very important thing. This is a very, very, very important thing, because if you're not careful, after all the noise, we will only be reduced to the drawers of water and the hewers of wood in this situation, because what will happen is that Ghanaian farmers will be just, employed by these people, and like I earlier said, paid as a pittance, and then the bulk of the profit will be cutted out of the country. In that way, how does Ghana stand to benefit? And then my brethren Kexpongo has also, proposed something which I find very interesting and very doable. He's proposing the outgrower system, which is that if these investors come, they can possibly invest their money in setting up the processing, the processing facilities for these for the cannabis and fiber, so that the farmers grow and then they sell it to the processing companies or the processing factories, who would then process it and then move on from there. That way, we can set a good price for the product, and then the farmers will actually be running their own farms, okay? And then the processing companies who would have come and invested their money into facilities for processing the hemp fiber will also do their business. Then it's a win-win for everybody. I find that a brilliant proposal. So it's almost time to bow out, but I am going to make these few points before I do. Let us stop celebrating about ganja being legalized. That's not the case. And let's focus on how to cash in on what's about to become the law after the president assents to it. How do we do that? We make sure that our farmers are getting the better end of the bargain. That is where our focus should be, okay? And also one more thing. The bill is not all, it doesn't leave everything just like that for users. There's a clause in the bill which I hope was not struck out in the new update, but that clause seeks to water down the punishment for users, mark users, not couriers or sellers. According to this clause in the bill, if somebody is found to be a user, let's say somebody is found with a couple rolls, as we call them in Ghana, a couple rolls or a few grams, or something that they determine is something that's for your personal use, the bill is seeking to strike out jail terms or incarceration for users. That is what I think we should be celebrating, if anything at all. I mean, it's a small thing, but it's better than nothing, Abi. As the man used to say, 0 times 0 is 0, but half times 1 is half, and that's more than 0. So what we are looking at is that if the bill passes, or I think the bill has passed actually, right? But if once it becomes law, you cannot be jailed for carrying a few rolls, for instance. Remember, it is still illegal. You can still get into trouble for it. But unlike previously, when you would be taken to jail for a roll or for half a roll, half a smoke spliff, for things like that. I've seen somebody who was put in cells for Rizla, for carrying Rizla in his pocket. That is ridiculous. But yes, the bill seeks to water that down so that, if you're found with, a certain amount, you are not going to be put in jail. Rather, you could be fined. You could be fined because it is still deemed as an offense, but you are going to be fined instead of being put in jail. That's the bright side of the bill for smokers and for users. But as for couriers, as for people who sell, people who grow and all of that, if you're growing smokable marijuana, if you're found with bags or even ounces or kilos or whatever of marijuana, you will still be put in jail, according to the bill, according to the law. But the law says that if you find somebody, if the police arrest somebody and they have a certain amount, a small amount, which is deemed to be for their personal use, they will be fined rather than be, be incarcerated. So that's a small victory over there. May I also propose to the state to introduce communal service or community service instead of the fines. Instead of putting people in jail, if you have them do community service, I think it's going to inure to the benefit of the state. And as I end, let me also say that we are going to be pushing harder for people say recreational use. Okay, that's another subject. But as the Rastafari community, it is a breach of our human rights to be arrested for something that grows naturally and that we find useful for our sacraments. So in good time, I think that question will be raised again so that at least some provisions could be made for the Rastafari community to be able to use it for sacramental purposes. Is vital, because the law barring us from doing so is the law not protecting its own citizens. It's the law trampling on the rights of its citizens, i.e. the Rastafari community. But that's another discussion for another day. For now, let's get it straight. Weed is not legal in Ghana. Ganja is not legal in Ghana. However, if you are found with small amounts, as per the new law, you will be fined and not put in jail. If, however, you're selling or you are growing or you are quote-unquote trafficking, as they would say, the law still remains the same. You will be incarcerated with all the other penalties that come with it. And let's also make sure that we make our voice loudly heard when the minister is putting the nuances, putting the final touches of what the law actually in its implementable stage should be, so that we stand to benefit properly from the law rather than pass a law which is only going to be beneficial for people, investors, and for corporate entities and stuff like that, mostly from outside of Ghana. We have to protect against that. And let me salute all our farmers, those who grow ganja and those who don't grow ganja both, because they grow food. Everything that you grow, enough respect to all farmers. And let me also give one big salute to the Rastafari Council. Daddy Bosco, large up. President Kex, large up. Togbi Deka, Empress Safinaj. My time is up, so I can't mention too many names, but everybody in the advocacy committee, I want to say one love every time, and the fight is only beginning. Like President Keck said, we should be really focused on making sure that our farmers get the best end of this deal. Thank you very much for doing the listening. My name is Kwesi Bakunja Beloved, and I have been here trying to bring some light on that topic. It's time for me to leave. I thank you for doing the listening. Please spread the word and make sure that we understand what is going on properly. One love every time. As I bow out, I give thanks and praises for a happy sabbatical morning. Tomorrow, we'll be here with our other program, Reggae Reverbs. Tomorrow, we don't have a guest for Reggae Reverbs. It will be purely music. And we will also be touching base with a man called Black Santino, who just celebrated his birthday with a big bash. We'll call him to tell us more about how the bash went. Santino, large up. Until such times, one love every time I'm out of here.
And now on Radio Culture, GH #1 reggae dancehall online radio. Are you ready to hear this? Yeah, this is Fred Dread. Kente, word, sound, and power. Constantly in tune with Radio Culture Ghana. Click on the link and link up.
Hit Web Radio. Radio. Culture.
I say, here it is, Radio Culture, your #1 internet radio station. Me say, badding, up to the time.
Mama Africa, me love you. Yeah. Ghana, we need you. Yeah. Well, I'm Yasa Safari, the cryptic warrior, live from Jamaica, representing for Radio Culture, GH Reggae Dancehall, the very best of the best, no guides.
Love you, Mary. Money short on every time. Follow me. Now me brain everywhere. Oh, yeah. Why they fight you now? See channel. Officer, see channel. See channel. Officer, see channel. See channel. Officer. Officer, see channel. Answer. I just smoke it to elevate my mind. I just smoke it to deal with the hustle and the grind. I just smoke it to cope with the times. Oh, my sweet Mary Jane, on my brain. You light up my world, literally. And at the evening as you put me to bed. Every day we are running, sometimes we are running, oftentimes we are done it, and when it's fresh we are done. We say, when you are the age of a man are growing, and up there in a mponya, them and them a bag it. Don't get in a avenue, or could be a buy it. I'm on the streets of Lake and Rastaman about it. I love to kiss on you, them did I find it growing, pumpkin son of an how could them judge you and them never even try to for them say? Culture. Officer, let go of me answer. You never hear on the news that in the legalizer. It really makes no sense to simply terrorize a planter. And now they're fully full behavior. They must stop, sir. Ready. So now they're planning to boost up the tourism and the to bring in some jobs and foreign exchange. And let go all of the ganja prisoners from Castload. Mr. High GP. Yeah. All the ghettos around